It's interesting to me that being able to talk is often an argument against actually having autism. And I kind of just want to talk a little bit about why that doesn't exactly make sense. Language develops in typical ways, but in the case of autism, we have a tendency to develop language differently than other people. So in the most stereotypic example, you think of somebody who is nonverbal. That doesn't say anything about their ability to understand language. It just talks about their ability to verbally express language, which really is only part of communication when you think about it, because when you're talking to somebody, you have this concept of reciprocity, or being able to have a back and forth with conversation. So not only do you need to be able to express what you're saying in a conversation, but you also need to be able to understand. So if you have one and not the other, regardless of how that goes, that's still an issue with communication. So conversely, someone else who is autistic may be hyperlexic and may develop language much earlier than their peers and be reading independently when other kids their age are not. And that is just not in a linear sense, but an opposite extreme of the same coin. This person, as an example, again, just because they maybe have high verbal ability, have a big vocabulary, really has an interest in language and words, it also doesn't speak to their ability to understand said language. It's not uncommon to have a big vocabulary, but a lot of comprehension issues because you don't exactly know what you're saying, or you're using language in not the correct way. So you're using language in a way that necessarily doesn't make sense because, again, it's not speaking to your ability to receive and understand language. So when we hear and when we're communicating, it is our ear, our outer, middle, and inner ear that takes in that sound, so we're actually hearing what people are saying. But in a lot of cases, and in my case, I have central auditory processing issues. And so even though I'm hearing what is going on, I'm not always understanding the language and the context and everything that's going on around it. So I'm not understanding what people are saying. I also have delayed processing issues. So I could be having a conversation with somebody where they're talking and I'm hearing everything that they're saying, and I'm listening to what they're saying, but my brain is not able to really do anything with it and really process that information in a way that I can understand it at the time. Autistic folks tend to have, in an even skill set, challenges and strengths that don't always go together as they would in normal people. When I'm regulated and I'm able to take in information, I have a very high auditory recall and I can remember almost perfectly what anybody says. But at the same time, when I'm dysregulated or there's a lot going on, I really struggle with auditory processing issues, and those are usually the times when it matters. Why that's important is in autism, challenges are often relative to someone's strengths. So if you're thinking about somebody, a position or a job or doing something that requires a lot of intelligence or a lot of cognitive ability, we often don't think of the fact that someone's adaptive functioning or ability to do said job is not matching those same skills or that same level of skill that someone needs to actually function in said job, which can be problematic if you have somebody who is in a lab and brilliant, but they also have the adaptive ability of a teenager. See how that could be a little problematic. All in all, this is just to say there's a difference between verbal expression and verbal reception. One is specifically talking about your ability to verbally express what you're saying, while the other one is not related at all. It's talking about your ability to verbal understand, and it's really important to have that distinction and to not conflate them or confuse them, because in the case of autism, having one and not the other, very common.